Hey everyone, welcome to MT Guitar. Very exciting lesson for you today. We're going to be covering the magic of thirds. This is going to unlock the key to harmony and possibly, if I may be so bold, the key to music theory. So thirds apply not only to guitar, but just to music in general, whatever instrument you play, including even, singing, piano, horns, etc. So thirds are just a way of looking at music and sort of dividing up the octave in a way that's much more practical. Scales are really nice, but oftentimes even great melodies are using a lot of thirds. Can't buy me love. So we want to understand thirds for not only harmony, but just for music in general. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it from beginner to advanced, not only in sort of a conceptual way in terms of understanding thirds, but also we're going to pepper in a bunch of exercises. There's going to be a full study guide with a bunch of exercises on the Patreon, and I'll also throw up a backing track where you can practice these exercises along to. So check that out. It's a really great way to sort of take what I'm talking about here and put it to practice, put it to use. As soon as you run a bunch of exercises and get used to them, you kind of want to go out into the deep end and just try these things out, see if you can make music with it. That's the goal, right? So why am I making such a big deal about thirds? First, let's define thirds, then I'll show them on the guitar, and more importantly, how they really interact in a key. All right, so a third is basically saying G to B, right? So if you take G, you go to A, that would be the next note of a G major scale. So that's a second. It's G to A. Now when I go G to B, that's a third. I'm going G, A, B. So these are thirds. Now it happens to be the first and third note of G, but thirds can extend beyond that. If I say, hey, I just skipped A and I went straight to B, that's a third. It happens to be a major third. Because it's two whole steps. G to A is a whole step, A to B is a whole step, so major third. But let's say I'm saying, okay, well I want to go up from here. I know I can go to a C. That's a minor second interval. This isn't a lesson on all the intervals, but you have major and minor basically, right? So I have a nice step there, but I don't want to play a scale, I want to play thirds. So I go from B to D. I skip a note. So anytime you basically skip a note in a major scale, or any scale really besides pentatonic, pentatonic is already skipping notes, by the way, which is why they're peppered with thirds already. But if I just go from B to D, that's a third, even though I'm not going from the 1, I'm going from the 3 to the 5. So this happens to be a minor third. That's because it's a step and a half. B to C is a half step, 1 fret, C to D is a whole step, 2 frets. So you've got this nice little ability to play a third easily on one string. It's a little bit more of a stretch if I was to play G to B, which is a major third on one string. You'd have to sort of stretch for it, but it's also good to do. All right, now that's what a third is, okay, just the straight definition. But the implications are massive. I want to know how to make a major chord melodically. I want to be able to play the 3 notes of a major chord one string at a time, or even all 3 strings at a time, as known as a triad. So what I want to do is I want to say, well, I need to understand that from G to B is a major third. So from 1 to 3. Then from B to D, I already said is a minor third. But check it out, this D is the same as 4th string open. So does this look familiar? G, B, D. This is a root position triad. But what's going on here is I have a major third followed by a minor third. And so the major third and minor third switch. And that's just what they do in every major chord forever, right? I can take this anywhere. If I take an A and I put it on my pinky, I can see the same major third up a whole step. So there's a major third. Now, my minor third, notice how it's 1 fret further apart. So 1 fret apart, now it's 2 frets apart, because a minor third is 2 frets apart when you're working with these strings. When you're working with the 3rd and 2nd strings, it's a little bit truncated, right? But here, I have a major third and a minor third. Let's say I want to make a minor chord now. Let's stay in A. So I'd say, well, okay, I know that a minor chord has to have a minor third interval. Perfect. I just simply, again, go 2 frets apart. You really want to get to know these shapes as quickly as you can, because that's going to serve you. You can start to just abandon even scale shapes and just notice the thirds, which I'm going to get to. So, minor third, But what happens next? If I run a minor scale, I can always do that to verify where the notes should be. 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to skip a note, straight to flat 3, go to straight to 5. All right, now I've got the 3 notes of an A minor chord, 1, flat 3, 5. Look what happened. Minor third, and now major third. So, if you remember from our major discussion, major third, minor third. Now we flip it for the minor chord, minor third, major third. So you can kind of see a major chord and a minor chord as mirror images of each other. The major third starts the major chord, the minor third starts the minor chord, and vice versa for the end. The minor third ends the major chord, and the major third ends the minor chord. It's a mouthful, but it's pretty clear. Okay. So now what you can do is say, okay, I understand how a major chord works, how a minor chord works. Where are we going with this? Well, what you really want to start doing is understanding all the thirds of a key. And it's not as bad as it sounds. If I say, hey, I want to play, in this position. This is the E shape of G, right? You've got an open G chord, that's the G shape. I move it up to a bar. Most people know this bar, even beginners. And that's just like an F chord up a whole step if you're really a beginner and you've learned F. You can play that shape on any note, A, B, whatever. So I know this is review for some of you, that's okay. But now we're in E shape of G and I say, okay, I'm going to play the scale. And I've got 7 notes. Now I want to go up a third from each of those 7 notes. And I want to see what happens. And we're going to see that it's going to follow the Roman numerals of the key. So I'm going to play up a third. Now I'm going to do the same thing from the second note, up a third. Notice that's a minor third. Okay, start noticing these shapes here, minor third. Now from the third note, up a minor third. What happens in the 4 and 5? I go up a third. Again, I'm just skipping a note. I would have gone this, like this in the scale, but now I'm just going up a major third. So I'm skipping that 4th degree. So it's a major third from the 4. 5, major third. 6, minor third. 7, minor third. And then back to 1. So what happens is I have a major third interval from the 1, 4, and 5. And if you know anything about my channel or about music theory, you've probably heard that before. The 1, 4, 5 chords are major in a key. Doesn't mean you have to stick to that, but that's just how the key works. You can always change the key and make creative music by going outside. But it's nice to know 1, 4, 5. Right? And you can even make riffs from that. But that is just how they work. They're geometrically, the same on these string sets here. Major third, go up, down a string. You could go up a whole step, or you could refinger it like that. So then the 2, 3, 6, and 7 are minor. So we know that 2, 3, 6 chords are minor, or if you didn't know that, now you know. And the 7th chord is diminished. However, the 7th chord is minor as far as a third, not the chord, but the 7th note going up a third is minor because we haven't played the next note of the chord yet. So 2, 3, 6, and 7 are all minor. So now minor, minor, and then on the 6, minor, notice, same thing as the 3, just down a string, minor third interval. 7, minor third. All right, so now I would have an exercise that sounds like this. And then I'll repeat the octave. All the way down. All the way up, I should say. Now I go down and I descend to the 6. So here's the 1 or the 8, 7, 6. So I skip the 7. So it's the same process just in reverse. So it sounds like this. Major third, minor third, minor third, major, minor, sorry. Major third. I was trying to talk while doing it, but obviously failing a little bit. So then you would descend. Then you'd say, okay, well, this is cool. This is kind of clinical, though. I'm just going up and then down. Now you'd reverse directions on the second half. So I'd ascend a major third, and then instead of ascending a minor third from the 2, I would descend to the 2. Now it sounds instantly more musical. So I'm going to ascend the first one and then descend the second one to the 2. So it sounds like this. See that? Ascend, descend, ascend, descend. Instantly more musical. Then when I get to the top, I'm going to descend to the 6 and then ascend from the 5. And it's still a minor third, major third from the 5. Nothing's changed, just the direction. So descend, ascend. Really good exercise. So this is just a great finger workout, but it's also teaching you the thirds, 1, 4, 5 major, 2, 3, 6, 7 minor. So this is just the beginning, because now we're going to see how if we stack the next third, we all of a sudden play all the triads of the key, almost without too much effort. We just skip notes in the scale. So instead of going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I'm just going to skip the 2, go straight to the 3, major third, skip the 4, go straight to the 5, minor third. Now I have a G major triad. Then I do the same thing from A. I skip a bunch of notes, 2 to be exact. I skip, the next note, get to the minor third, skip the next note, get to the 5th of that. So now I have a 1, 3, 5, and A minor. That's the 2 chord, or the 2 minor. So 1 major, 2 minor, let's just keep it going, 3 minor, 4 major, 5 major, 6 minor, 7 diminished. It's just an extension of the 5 chord, really, in my opinion, so don't worry about it too much. It's 2 minor thirds in a row. That's cool. Next octave, 1, 2, 3, minor, 4 major, 5 major. We've kind of run out of room. So you can do this in all 5 positions. It's a lot, so don't feel like you have to go through it all. Now, going down to the 4 chord. Or actually, sorry, let's start with the 5. Then 4, both major. Now 3, 2, 1. 7, diminished. 6 minor, 5 major. Just getting to know the thirds. Finally there. You just want to see it and hear it and visualize it, etc. Now I reverse the second half. And then, you can just go down from there. This is pretty tough if you're new to it, so go slower. Good. I added the 7 just for fun there. Now I would say, okay, I get it, but there's one more third to add, and this is where it gets really crazy. 1, 3, 5, we know that there's 7 notes, so we know we can just keep going on this path. I can just go to the 7. And seventh chords are in the key, right? They just are. You have a 7th, you can just keep going. And that's true for all 7 chords. So you don't have to wait for some method book to teach you this. You can just find this in the scale by saying, I'm going to skip a note 3 times. Skip a note once, major third. Skip a note twice, I get to the 5, that's the minor third. I skip the 6 and I go to the 7. Look, it's a major third. So what do we have? Major third, minor third, major third, creating a G major 7. And all of a sudden we see major, minor, major. So no matter where I am, if I'm at the 1, if I'm at a G, I can just play a major third, a minor third, and a major third without even thinking about a scale or shape. As long as I know what a major third looks like, between the 3rd and 2nd string, here's a G, it's the same fret. It's only on those 2 strings where it's like that. Minor third, major third. Or here, major third, minor third, I can go up 4 frets to a major third, to the 7. Okay, so this continues with all 7 notes, so let's try that. Major 7. On the 2 chord, what happens? Can you take a wild guess? It's going to be the exact mirror image of a major, so it's going to be flipped. Instead of major, minor, major, it's minor, major, minor. Look at this. Minor third, major third, minor third. So that's an A minor 7. Those are the notes. It kind of looks like A minor pentatonic, but we're just not playing the 4. So there's 1, flat 3, 5, flat 7. Minor third, major third, minor third. Okay? So that's for the 2, 3, and 6 chords. So now I have 1, 2, 3. Notice it's same thing as the A minor. Now the C is a major 7 diatonically. So we know it's major third, minor third, major third. Now we get to the special 5 chord. Why do we call the 5 chord dominant? Because it just is diatonically. What dominant means is major third, minor 7, or flat 7. So here's a major third, minor third again. So that's unique. It's only the 5 chord that has that. You can make any chord dominant, just like we said earlier. You can always change the key. But if you didn't mess with the key at all, you would just have that. So that's a major third, then 2 minor thirds in a row. Okay, back to the 6th chord, minor 7. 7th chord is half diminished. It's kind of the oddball, right? It's a minor 3rd, major 3rd. Then you're back to the 1. Major 3rd, minor 3rd, major 3rd. A minor 7, B minor 7, then you run out of room. So it would sound like this. Great finger exercise. And then going down is pretty tricky, so I recommend going really slow. That kind of speed. So that'll be on the Patreon. So then you would reverse the second half, and now you're really cooking. Great exercise as well. Really teaches finger independence. All right, where does this lead us now? Well, we've got all the thirds of the key stacked up to the 7. Now, as long as I've memorized the 7th chords, 1 and 4 are major 7, 5 is dominant 7, 2, 3, and 6 are minor 7, 7 is the oddball. We'll just shelve that for a sec. Now I can pick any note in the key and automatically know what thirds to make. So let's say I'm playing in the key of G and I want to just find a note. If I go to E, all right, and I know, well, that's the 6. The E is the 6. I can verify that with this scale if I need to, whatever. But now I know, well, 6th chord's got to be minor 3rd, major 3rd, minor 3rd. Check this out. Minor 3rd, major 3rd, minor 3rd. I'm not even thinking about, well, this happens to be the C shape or whatever. I'm just thinking the thirds. Now I go to another note in the key. Let's say I go to C. I say, okay, I want to not play a scale anymore. I know that it's a major 7. And I can just make music with thirds because thirds are pleasing to the ear. We can also play these harmonically. So that brings up a nice point here. If I play 1 and 3 together, and then I say, well, what's the next thirds? It's 5 and 7. So I could play this and then this. And I'm playing actually either D or I'm playing the end of a major 7 chord. I'll do it again here. 1 and 3, 5 and 7. Major thirds. I can go down a whole step to the minor thirds from 3 and 2. I'm just making music now with thirds. I'm sort of transported away from scales. Last point on this before we wrap it up for this lesson, I'll do more on this later, is we can say, hey, I can just work horizontally. It doesn't have to be vertical. So let's say I'm an A for this purpose. And I want to play all the chords through arpeggios. I can just see the shape of the thirds really clearly. Major 3rd, minor 3rd. Minor 3rd, major 3rd. See? 2 chord, 3 chord, 4 chord. Major 3rd, minor 3rd. Same with the 5. 6. So now I could be like... I wouldn't recommend playing like this like when you're soloing, but it's really good for demonstration purposes. I can take that with any note. Let's say I'm at E. E's a nice key. I have the whole arpeggio here. But let's say I want to play 1 chord, 2 chord, 3 chord. I'm not even thinking about what shape I'm in because I'm thinking, hey, it's got to be major minor. It's got to be minor major. It just has to be. Unless you want to change it. You can always change it. Get some cool sounds. But at least now you know what to do. Third, third, third. Third, third. So the implications are endless, but what you should do is run all these exercises up and down, ascending, descending, switch the second half in all 5 positions. It'll take a while. I've been teaching these to my private students this last week, and I'm reminding them, hey, if there's something that you want to just get lost in for weeks, months, years, do this when you're just bored and you want to work on something. Work your thirds in the key in all 5 shapes of caged. And then get lost in a key, maybe play over a song or a backing track, or just by yourself, whatever, and just find a note in the key and then say, gosh, if this is the 3, well, I know I can do minor 3rd and then a major 3rd. Or if this is the 5, I know I can do a major 3rd, then a minor 3rd. So if I'm in the key of E here and I find a B, I know I can do major 3rd, minor 3rd. So I don't want to overload you, which maybe I've already done, but that's why I've got the study guide and the backing track and the tabs on the Patreon, and that's really where I recommend you spend a lot of time on. Just have fun with it too. This is not something to tear your hair out over, but it is something to hopefully motivate you, inspire you, because we don't want to always rely on scales and then say, well, scales and then I just know how to play chords. We want to break away from that and combine melody and harmony in a way that we can see music, hear music, play music. Okay, hopefully I didn't go too fast. I kind of had a lot to say here. And remember to subscribe, hit the bell icon, do check out the Patreon, and I do have an album coming out soon, so I'm going to make some more content about that process and recording it, and also, I'll hopefully have you listen to it as well. So anyway, enough from me. Go ahead and enjoy the rest of your day and enjoy your practice session, and looking forward to seeing you next lesson. Bye.